Hey friends, I'm Georgie and you are listening to Feel Good Friday, my mini Friday episodes of the Just Breathe podcast where I'll be reading an excerpt from a book that's provided me with particular inspiration and insight in the hope that it will do the same for you. So in today's episode, I'll be reading an excerpt from Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This was such a brilliant read. It was so inspiring and I would really highly recommend. Elizabeth Gilbert has a really unique understanding of creativity and she shatters a lot of the perceptions around the creative process in her book and shows us all just how easy creating can be. She encourages us to face our fears, expand our curiosities, and go after what you love with a vengeance. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Just Breathe podcast. Let's keep inspiring people. Let's keep empowering people to use the power of their breath to harness their bodies and minds. All right, let's crack right on with this mini Feel Good Friday episode. I hope you enjoy. So this is from part 3 of the book called Permission, and the section itself is called The Fat Kids. Here's what I did during my 20s. Rather than going to school for writing, I got a job as a waitress at a diner. Later, I became a bartender as well. I've also worked as an au pair, private tutor, a ranch hand, a cook, a teacher, a flea marketer, and a bookstore clerk. I lived in cheap apartments, had no car, and wore thrift shop clothes. I would work every shift, save all my money, and then go off travelling for a while to learn things. I wanted to meet people and to hear their stories. Writers are told to write what they know. And all I knew was that I didn't know very much yet, so I went forth in deliberate search of material. Working at the diner was great, because I had access to dozens of different voices a day. I kept 2 notebooks in my back pockets, one for customers' orders and the other for my customers' dialogue. Working at the bar was even better because those characters were often tipsy and thus were even more forthcoming with their narratives. As a bartender, I learned that not only does everybody have a story that would stop your heart, but everybody wants to tell you about it. I sent my work out to publications and I collected rejection letters in return. I kept up with my writing, despite the rejections. I laboured over my short stories alone in my bedroom, and also in train stations, in stairwells, in libraries, in public parks, and in the apartments of various friends, boyfriends, and relatives. I sent more and more work out. I was rejected. I disliked the rejection letters. Who wouldn't? But I took the long view. My intention was to spend my entire life in communion with writing, period. And people in my family live forever. I have a grandmother who's 102, so I figured my 20s was too soon to start panicking about time running out. That being the case, editors could reject me all they wanted. I wasn't going anywhere. Whenever I got those rejection letters then, I would permit my ego to say aloud to whoever had signed it, "You think you can scare me off? I've got another 80 years to wear you down. There are people who haven't even been born yet who are gonna reject me someday. That's how long I plan to stick around." Then I would put the letter away and get back to work. I decided to play the game of rejection letters as if it were a great cosmic tennis match. Somebody would send me a rejection, and I would knock it right back over the net, sending out another query that same afternoon. My policy was, you hit to me, I'm going to hit it straight back out into the universe. I had to do it this way. I knew because nobody was going to put my work out there for me. I had no advocate, no agent, no patron, no connections. Not only did I not know anyone who had a job in the publishing world, I barely knew anyone who had a job. I knew that nobody was ever going to knock on my apartment door and say, "We understand that a very talented, unpublished young writer lives here, and we would like to help her advance her career." No, I would have to announce myself. And so I did announce myself, repeatedly. I remember having the distinct sense that I might never wear them down, those faceless, nameless guardians of the gate that I was tirelessly besieging. They might never give in to me, they might never let me in, it might never work. It didn't matter. No way was I going to give up on my work simply because it wasn't working. That wasn't the point of it. The rewards could not come from external results. I knew that. The rewards had to come from the joy of puzzling out the work itself, and from the private awareness I held that I had chosen a devotional path and I was being true to it. If someday I got lucky enough to be paid for my work, that would be great. But in the meantime, money could always come from other places. There are so many ways in this world to make a good enough living, and I tried lots of them, and I always got by well enough. I was happy. I was a total nobody, and I was happy. I saved my earnings and went on trips and took notes. I went to the pyramids of Mexico and took notes. I went on bus rides through the suburbs of New Jersey and took notes. I went to Eastern Europe and took notes. I went to parties and took notes. I went to Wyoming and worked as a trail cook on a ranch and took notes. At some point in my 20s, I gathered a few friends who also wanted to be writers, and we started our own workshop. We met twice a month for several years, and we read one another's work loyally. For reasons that are lost to history, we named ourselves the Fat Kids. It was the world's most perfect literary workshop, or at least it was in our eyes. We had selected one another carefully, thereby precluding the killjoys and bullies who show up in many workshops to stomp on people's dreams. We held each other to deadlines and encouraged each other to submit our work to publishers. We came to know each other's voices and hang-ups, and we helped each other to work through our specific habitual obstacles. We ate pizza and we laughed. The Fat Kids workshop was productive and inspiring and fun. It was a safe place in which to be creative and vulnerable and exploratory. And it was completely and totally free. Except for the pizza. Yes, of course. But come on. You see what I'm getting at, right? You can do this stuff yourself, people. I absolutely love that section of the book, especially the bit about Elizabeth Gilbert's writing group called the Fat Kids. I mean, not only is that name absolutely brilliant, I think it's an amazing example of people coming together, supporting each other, growing together towards a common goal, rather than coming at a place of lack, coming at it from a place of abundance and ultimately from a place of love. I think a lot in striving towards whatever we define as success or towards some sort of goal, there can often be this mentality that there's only so much to go around, there's only so much of the good stuff, so you've got to be the first one there to the finish line, even though we actually have no idea where the finish line actually is. And I don't think this counts just in terms of writing. This could be totally relatable in terms of business or performing or any sort of profession, really. I think it's a huge lesson, actually, to remember that it's about the experience, it's about the journey rather than the destination. We never really reach the finish line because as soon as we get to a certain milestone, we're just looking on to the next milestone, and we're on this continuous, impermanent journey. And just continuously growing. And I think it's a shame to be so focused on an outcome that we forget about all of the incredible experiences we can have during the journey, and how many incredible connections and relationships we can make by having an open heart in the pursuit of greatness. I think relationships and support are such vital elements of life, not only in a professional sense, but in a personal growth sense as well. Having a strong community of people that have your back, it's a really empowering and uplifting thought. But I also think the idea is important that people will only have your back so long as you can open your heart enough to have theirs. I love her way that she talks about rejection as well, that she was rejected again and again and again, and it turned into a game. She detached herself that it was anything personal and laughed it off, that it was just simply these invisible humans and it was just another no, and that she's got time, all the time in the world, to get to where she wants to get to. And I think I really admire Elizabeth Gilbert's thirst for knowledge. She just wants to learn and learn and learn and learn. And being in my 20s myself, I definitely share that yearning to just keep learning, keep growing. And it's such a beautiful reminder about when Elizabeth Gilbert took any job just to earn a bit of money so that she could learn and gather stories and meet new people. It's a great reminder that the journey is not always as easy and straightforward and simple as you think, that if you can roll with it and go with the flow, you can find joy in something that a lot of people would see as a struggle, in working a job that was maybe not your first choice, or not having all the money in the world to buy whatever you wish. I think having that pursuit of something that is a lot bigger than you, having that really strong intention, can turn any sort of adversity into an opportunity for growth. And I think that's a really wonderful message Elizabeth Gilbert is putting out there, and one that I definitely need reminding of once in a while, especially during these times of lockdowns and COVID, when a lot of daily life feels like quite a struggle. There's a lot of low energy in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty. And if we can find a way to come together to support each other, to keep growing, and to turn that struggle into opportunity, into, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I take this journey and just take a big step forward, even if it is something that we label as a struggle? That's certainly what I took from the book. Let me know in the comments or on a review what you got from that little excerpt, and if you took any insights and inspiration. I hope you really enjoyed this mini episode of Feel Good Friday. I'll be back next week with another book and more motivational chit chat to help inspire you for the rest of your week. See you next week.